Every woman I've ever met, with almost no exceptions, and this includes extremely high-achieving women on the career front, pretty much by the time they're in their late 20s, their primary goal is to have a child.
Good day, good day, good day. Crucian Mahogany here, and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we're going to be discussing why women have menstruation. Why do we have periods? You see, you may think you know why, but I have a different perspective for you today. One that I myself, although having had menstruation since I've been, a teenager, I never saw it from this perspective. You already saw Jordan Peterson telling you, oh, women at a certain age, we get this whole idea in our minds that we need to have a child. We need to have a child. Most of us don't even know how detrimental a child is to our well-being, to our further life after that child. So we take it for granted. And we might have children just all willy-nilly, not even considering the things that we actually are risking by having a child. First off, we're going to talk about menstruation and how, if you didn't know, menstruation is to protect you from males. Yes. It's to protect you. It's to protect you, ladies. Did you know that your menstruation is to protect you from parasitic invasion? Yeah, I know. We're going to talk more about it. Remember, we are not only just human. We are a part of the nature. We are mammals. And with predators looking out to make sure that they get prey, we also have protection measures. This is a part one because there's a lot to discuss. And this part is just going to talk about menstruation itself. Part two is going to go more into the predatory nature of our species and why it's super important for us to consider why periods are so important to us. So I know it is something that we all suffer through, but it is an amazing way to protect us women. So let's listen to the first part.
Okay, so we're now going to ask which species, why did it evolve, and which species are the menstruating species?
First things first, did you know that not all species of mammals have menstrual cycles? I thought all animals did. I thought at least mammals, at least the mammals. I thought all mammals had a menstrual cycle. But no, that is not the case.
A handful of species on Earth share a seemingly mysterious trait, a menstrual cycle. We're one of the select few. Monkeys, apes, bats, humans, and possibly elephant shrews are the only mammals on Earth that menstruate.
In the current issue of the journal Nature, Dr. Rosemary J. Redfield of the Department of Zoology demonstrates that a female, by mixing her chromosomes with a male's, perpetually tempts genetic disaster.
And that is a little sneak peek about what we're going to discuss in part two and a little bit more. But just the idea that, first off, what our mixing of chromosomes with male gametes does is not... It can create disaster. We take having children as something so normal and so natural, yes, and it's a process. But it really is one foot in the grave, and you're going to find out why shortly. Let's talk about it. Let's continue.
And we are among the species which has what is known as a hemocorial. It is an extraordinarily invasive form of placentations. There are other far less invasive forms of placentation amongst mammals, but we have the very most invasive. And when I say invasive, it is very highly aggressive. Effectively, the fetus gains, it becomes very contiguous to the mother's bloodstream, and ultimately gains control over the mother's bloodstream. Now, most mammals, particularly some marsupial mammals, most mammals will make sure that the fetus is one side of a wall and the mother's bloodstream is another. But in these hemicorial species, that isn't the case. The fetus is able to rip through the uterine wall, burrow in there, mine into the uterine arteries, and it's doing that in order to gain an increased level of blood supply. It's doing that in order to grab all the nutrients it can get, and it uses hormonal signals to change the quality and the quantity of the mother's blood supply that's coming to it. So it is not a well-behaved fetus at all. And what we're looking at with this type of placentation, the model that is used to try to understand it is a maternal-fetal conflict model. Okay, this sounds very counterintuitive. Why on earth would the mother and the fetus have conflicts of interest?
Did you hear that? There's a conflict of interest between the mother and the fetus of any human embryo. It's not this cushy, cozy experience, and we know that. But women who have gone through having a child, you know that that fetus takes over your life, your whole body. Maybe you didn't even get how deep this rabbit hole goes. Did you hear what she said? In a previous video, I said this. Of course, pregnancy is one of the biggest infections that you can receive from your interactions with a guy. Yes, it is an invasive parasite that literally sucks everything out of you. And I'm not saying this as in we shouldn't have children. No, ma'am. No, ma'am. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is we should be more conscious. We should be more careful. We should be more mindful of making a choice, of making a decision to become a parent, to become a mother, because it takes a lot out of you from that point forward for the rest of your life. It doesn't stop after the child is born. I'm going to show you. Maybe you didn't understand. And no, she's that video is an anthropologist talking about it from, you know, a lecture point of view. I'm going to give you more of a visual point of view from this video that you're going to see here. Take a look.
Pregnancy places a mother and her child at odds. As for all living creatures, the human body evolved to promote the spread of its genes. For the mother, that means she should try to provide equally for all her offspring. But a mother and her fetus don't share exactly the same genes. The fetus inherits genes from its father as well, and those genes can promote their own survival by extracting more than their fair share of resources from the mother. This evolutionary conflict of interests places a woman and her unborn child in a biological tug-of-war that plays out inside the womb.
I've already heard how this fetus is really, it is a little alien blighter that is going to tunnel through the mother's uterine walls, grab control of her bloodstream, take over with hormonal signals and manipulation of her health for a large chunk of her reproductive lifespan. She's going to lose control to this little alien, little fetus creature, which means that for certain species of these hemicorial species who have extremely costly investment in pregnancy and in giving birth, and I'm pointing especially to the primate species, for those species, the mother has a way, the adaptation is for the mother to clamp down and kind of preempt what that fetus is going to do in plugging into her bloodstream. So how does she do this? She does this through the preparation of the lining of the womb, the endometrium. Now, all these hemicorial mammals, mammals in the preparation of the endometrium for implantation have a process known as decidulization, which differentiates the cell structure and prepares the amount of the blood supply that's available too. For the other hemicorial mammals that we talked about, like rabbits, for instance, like using them as an example, rabbits, it's very hard for a female rabbit not to get pregnant. They're famous for it. And the reason for that is she ovulates when she gets mated. It's called induced ovulation. The male mates the rabbit, the female just pops the egg there, and it's all very efficient, beautiful, so well organized. for primates and us, as one of the primates, and apparently for bats too, and the elephant trees, we don't do that. We don't do that. We do not, we especially, as I'm going to come on to, we conceal, we make ovulation a very, it might happen or it might not. We certainly don't ovulate every time we have sex. You can imagine what kind of problems that would lead to. And we're really hiding it from males.
Did you hear that? Really, we can see in nature there's a lot of animals that when they go into heat, it's well known. I mean, you hear cats screaming, they're crying. You hear other animals where their genitals will swell up and turn colors and all of that to let the male of the species know, I'm fertile, I'm ovulating, it's time. For humans, we don't do that. Our ovulation time is hidden. It's hidden for a reason. And our menstrual cycle, as will be explained in a short minute, is also a protection from the parasitic nature of a fetus. I know. It's mind-boggling, but a fetus is a parasite. It has ultimate control over the woman's body. It takes over her entire blood circulation, which is why so many women have died at the cause of having a child, because of hemorrhage, because that fetus has control over her entire circulatory system. It's such a fine balance in keeping the woman safe. And this is why we as women, we should be more cognitive of these things. So when we make the decision to have children, we can actually be making a choice to take care of ourselves and protect ourselves. But we're going to continue talking about the menstruation and why it is a protective measure against having a fetus or a parasite latch onto us.
So we don't have this. We don't have this definitely going to get pregnant thing at all. We might get pregnant, we might not. But the point is about the decidualization here, whereas rabbits or other hemicorial mammals will only go into the decidualization if they actually do get pregnant. For these other species which menstruate, they do what's known as, long word, spontaneous decidualization, which means they prepare the ground of the endometrium anyway. They do it as a matter of preemptive precautions against the possibility that that embryo is going to implant and that they're going to get pregnant. So this means that the endometrium will build up, prepare itself, and if the implantation happens, okay, the pregnancy goes. But what menstruation is if the implantation doesn't happen, progesterone withdrawn, menstruation happens, which is trying to clamp down on the amount that the fetus is trying to kind of get in there before the fetus gets to grab as much as possible of the mother's bloodstream. The mother's point of view, she's trying to clamp down and control the amount that the fetus can kind of grab from her. But she's also facing, if she's going to get pregnant, she's facing this very long, heavy, costly investment in an offspring through the pregnancy, and then following that, and we're talking really about these primate species that are menstruators, following that a year, 2, 3 more years of, and in the great apes case, 5 years of breastfeeding, lactation to support that offspring. Okay, with that kind of costliness in the investment ahead of her, from the mother's point of view, she wants to make absolutely sure that this embryo that's implanting, this fetus, is the best possible one. It's not just, it's not going to fall, it's going to be the healthiest and best. So what this system is kind of quality control for species with very high reproductive costs.
You see? If not for the thickening of the lining, the more blood being pushed towards the uterus, there's no chance for women. Although cycles can be quite painful at times, although they're quite a lot, they are there for our protection. I'm talking about till today, invasion in ways of rape, of molestation, of just having intercourse, whether it be by choice or by force. And we know that a lot of times it can happen by force, so let's not be unrealistic. So the cycle is there to protect you in case you are given gametes.
If you think about having continuous sexual receptivity implies that it's quite possible for to have sex and to have gametes, male gametes, sperm, floating about in the system that have come from quite a few days ago. They may be quite old, they may be getting a little bit doddery. And if a fertilization occurs with aging gametes, there may be more likelihood of chromosomal abnormalities. So we've got all these factors making the endometrium's kind of hostility to implantation, leading to possibilities of ectopic pregnancy, possibilities of chromosomal abnormalities because of continuous receptivity, all this kind of disruption of that endometrium environment. So if the implantations have failed, simply the best thing to do, this is a kind of rough and ready solution that natural selection has produced, is it didn't work, okay, just get rid of the lot. Start again, clean sheet. So that's menstruation.
One factor contributing to this internal tussle is the placenta, the fetal organ that connects to the mother's blood supply and nourishes the fetus while it grows. In most mammals, the placenta is confined behind a barrier of maternal cells. This barrier lets the mother control the supply of nutrients to the fetus. But in humans and a few other species, the placenta actually penetrates right into the mother's circulatory system to directly access her bloodstream. Through its placenta, the fetus pumps the mother's arteries with hormones that keep them open to provide a permanent flow of nutrient-rich blood. A fetus with such unrestricted access can manufacture hormones to increase the mother's blood sugar, dilate her arteries, and inflate her blood pressure. Most mammal mothers can expel or reabsorb embryos if required. But in humans, once the fetus is connected to the blood supply, severing that connection can result in hemorrhage. If the fetus develops poorly or dies, the mother's health is endangered. As it grows, a fetus's ongoing need for resources can cause intense fatigue, high blood pressure, and conditions like diabetes and preeclampsia. Because of these risks, pregnancy is always a huge, and sometimes dangerous, investment. So it makes sense that the body should screen embryos carefully to find out which ones are worth the challenge. This is where menstruation fits in.
Did you know that your menstrual cycle was for your protection? More in tomorrow's video. We're going to see a little bit more about why I'm saying protection. Please like the video, give it a thumbs up, share the video with anybody who you know, any woman who you know who does not know why she has her period and why we have to go through this process. Comment below, let me know your thoughts, and subscribe to the channel, because please subscribe, why not, you know? I'm going to be bringing you more videos as we go forward in this life, more videos as I share from my perspective. Thank you for watching the video, and I'll see you in the next video.